This is just a quick warning video about October 4th. I know there's been a lot of these videos, but I just wanted to show some things I found in relation to this date, and specifically coding with the number 88 in regards to 5G activation of hydrogel containing Marburg and 1p36 gene deletion.
Also new this morning, and sticking with tech, this fall every consumer cell phone will be part of a nationwide emergency alert test. FEMA and the FCC have scheduled the drill for October 4th at 2:20 p.m. Eastern Time. You can expect yourself
inside of these shots that people already received, inside the lipid nanoparticles, the hydrogel, there exists pathogens inside of the particles that have not yet opened. Those pathogens are chimeric. They include E. coli, Marburg, Ebola, Staphylococcus, and brewer's yeast, amongst others. We know that upon the broadcast from the 5G system that is now employed across the United States, and the world for that matter, when they broadcast an 18 gigahertz signal for 1 minute, 3 different times as a pulse.
You need to understand that everything is coded. Satanists revolve everything they do around mockery of the Bible. So 18 gigahertz is 6 plus 6 plus 6, and the 3 sequential bursts are taking place at exactly 2:20 p.m. So why this specific time? Well, if we take a look at the Strong's Concordance for 2:20, we get the Greek word alektor, which means rooster. In the Gospel of Matthew, John, and Luke, Peter denies Jesus exactly 3 times before the rooster crows. I even found this article about a Wi-Fi rooster which sent alerts to Glastonbury festival goers about which acts were performing on the pyramid stage. So just remember that these 3 sequential 18 gigahertz bursts could occur on October 4th with precisely 88 days until the end of the year.
When they broadcast an 18 gigahertz signal for 1 minute, 3 different times as a pulse, it will cause those lipid nanoparticles to swell and release these pathogenic contents, thereby causing a Marburg epidemic that they've already spent the money on. It's already done, right? The Marburg epidemic, for purposes of the law, has happened, and now we just need the actual disaster to happen. And there's actually worse parts to it than that, including the 1p36 gene deletion that effectively will turn those poor people into zombies. As odd as that sounds, our government's preparing for that.
But the FEMA have already put out zombie commercials and ConOps on that, correct?
That's correct. If you look at Con Plan 8888, Stratcom put that out in 2011. On page 2, they say, oh, this is just for examples, just for demonstration. You know, don't worry about it so we don't offend other countries. The problem with that is you look through that Con Plan, it's all about 5 different types of zombies. There isn't anything in there about opposition forces. There isn't anything about winning political battles or counterinsurgencies. It is only about a zombie apocalypse, defending it. And you will see that every NIMS compliant, practically, agency, or whether that's state, local, or federal, has already had their zombie apocalypse preparedness training. They've already done their practice. The CDC has had a zombie apocalypse preparedness website up for the last 5 years. Now they've reduced it to a PDF cartoon. Even in the Amazon Web Services contract, the force majeure clause, I believe it's Article 41, states that we're not liable for damages in case there's a zombie apocalypse. This is coming, folks, and the serious adverse event report Pfizer put out post-marketing, they had put out as part of a FOIA. The number 1 serious adverse event was the 1p36 gene deletion. You look up the symptomology for that, it is the elimination of the frontal cortex and a propensity to bite. What's very odd about this is this was the symptom post-vaccination. That disease is a congenital disease. It means you're born with it. So how is it then possible that this is the number 1 serious adverse event from the Pfizer shots? It's here, folks. And then
I know that it sounds inscrutable, the idea of an actual zombie apocalypse, but just think about all the zombie movies we've had through the years foreshadowing this outcome. And the truth is that they actually have the technology to do this, confirmed by Rockefeller biochemist James Giordano. They can modulate cell activity by stimulating graphene oxide with 5G electromagnetic frequencies.
If I wanted to do something that's a little bit more proximate, I can utilize nanoparticulate matter. Now, we can utilize nanoscience to create much better drugs, to get them where they got to go in the brain. I can create nanoscience and nanotechnology to be able to escort certain drugs across the proliferant barrier, which is the blood-brain barrier and cerebrospinal fluid barrier.
That lipid nanoparticle in and of itself is inflammatory. It does go everywhere. It was originally designed to take mRNA and or chemotherapeutic agents to organs that are hard to get to. like the brain.
They have high CNS affinity, they clump in the brain or in the vasculature, and they create essentially what looks like a hemorrhagic diathesis, in other words, a hemorrhage predisposition or a clot predisposition in the brain. What I've done is I've created a stroking agent, and it's very, very difficult to gain attribution to do that. I can use that on a variety of levels, from the individual to the group, highly disruptive. And in fact, this is one of the things that has been entertained and examined to some extent by my colleagues in NATO and to those who are working on the use of neurobiological sciences to create populational disruption. Very, very worried about the potential for these nanoparticulate agents to be CNS aggregating agents to cause neural disruption, either as hemorrhagic and vascular disruptors or as actual neural network disruptors, because they interfere with the network properties of various neural nodes and systems within the brain.
Research into the highly electroconductive compound known as graphene oxide was funded by the Rockefellers, of course. In this study, they were successful in exerting wireless control over brain cells of mice by using specific electromagnetic frequencies to stimulate specific parts of their brains. They could elicit particular emotions in the mice and even control things like their hunger. In the following clip, you can see a mouse being controlled through wired lasers which stimulate the amygdala to make it indiscriminately attack. This principle is the exact same with graphene oxide in people's brains, the only difference being the stimulatory effect comes wirelessly from 5G EMF. And here we can see there is an official patent for the modulation of cell activity. To modulate means to control. This invention makes use of 4 components: a radio frequency electromagnetic field, cell-specific expression of a nanoparticle, electroconductive metallic nanoparticles like reduced graphene oxide, and applying a radio frequency field to remotely activate the nanoparticles. So to summarize, this technology can control your consciousness, emotions, thoughts, and health. This patent, also like the research, was assigned to the Rockefeller University in 2018. Graphene oxide is hydrophilic and has great dispersibility. 55% of blood is comprised of plasma, of which 90% is water. In this clip, the graphene oxide is immersed in water and stimulated with electromagnetic frequencies, and it becomes alive and forms its own network. Now imagine this inside your body and blood. So we have billions of people filled with highly electroconductive reduced graphene oxide, which is an allotrope of carbon which has 6 electrons, 6 protons, and 6 neutrons. We have worldwide infrastructure of 5G technology that can stimulate these nanoparticles, which has a maximum frequency range of 66 gigahertz, and we have the 5G towers themselves standing at 66 tall.